Hello, everyone. Welcome to the most unique version of SF Open Studios we have ever had. Now, more than ever, we could not be more honored to bring our artists to the world and to have our artists here with us. It has been an incredible journey to re-engineer a 45-year tradition into our 46th Open Studios and it be completely and fully virtual. So, without much further ado, I'm going to talk about Philip Bewley, who is our host for the evening. Philip is the gallery director and the curator of design. It is such a beautiful space of art, inspiration, of furniture, and finishings. So, everyone, I want you to know that Philip Bewley's passion to present San Francisco Bay Area artists is fueled by the belief that a true connection to place includes genuinely engaging with local art. I'm going to interrupt for a moment and say it's so true. He has lifted up so many ArtSpan artists. He has been going to SF Open Studios since 1987. Some of those early artists he met and really got inspired by and was, becoming a curator himself, he's still in contact with and still works with. So a testament to how much art connects, how much it really brings us together. When selecting pieces of his private collection, Philip is particularly drawn to artists with whom he has a personal connection or has an interaction. Works of art that give him pause combine technical virtuosity with a clear message or exploration. We've asked all of our hosts to have a theme, and the artists are prepared to speak on their theme for 2 minutes. So, Philip, hi, welcome. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being a part of our community. What do you want to say about your theme and what the artists are going to do and why art matters, especially now?
Well, thank you so much, Joanne. I'm delighted to be a host for this art salon. I extend my appreciation to all the ArtSpan team members, past and present, for 46 years of promoting San Francisco Bay Area artists, for organizing this event, and for ArtSpan Open Studios, which is now accessed virtually. These programs give artists, art collectors, and everyone the ability to create, collect, and connect. My exhibitions at Design Gallery have grown with the inclusion of ArtSpan artists. In my curatorial practice, I try to actively listen to artists to hear what they're thinking about and the process in creating art. Tonight, all of us will connect with artists in this way. The theme that I have chosen for tonight's discussion is to reflect upon artists' experience during this year of 2020. Specifically, the period beginning from mid-March, when the shelter-in-place order was enacted here in the San Francisco Bay Area, to about the end of June or July. COVID-19 and the pandemic have brought real hardships to many. And yet, despite it all, ArtSpan and ArtSpan artists have proven to be resilient. Many artists were not able to access their studios during this period, or they were not able to acquire materials. And yet they created works of art with whatever materials they had on hand. Some artists, they say that their practice was frozen. And that's interesting too, as it's another perspective. In my ongoing conversations with artists, many have described that while sheltering in place, they felt free from the usual constraints, and they focused on process, on play, discovery, to try new mediums and new directions. I believe that we will look back upon this period as a time of artistic ferment, where ArtSpan artists have created extraordinary works of art. Tonight, we will hear from 22 of these artists. Each will give a brief insight into their work and practice. This will give us an introduction to each artist, and then you can follow them, attend their Booth Central events to meet them virtually, and continue this conversation. Well, I cannot wait to hear from these exceptional artists. And so I am now going to turn to Diane, who will guide us through this evening. Thank you so much, Diane.
Thank you, Philip. And thank you, Joanne. Thank you, everybody, for being here this evening. I'm Diane Hoffman. I'm the Artist Services Manager for ArtSpan. And I will be introducing each artist this evening. So let's get started. Our first artist this evening is Michael B. Endicott.
This is Michael. Welcome to my studio here at Edge of Frame Gallery on Divisadero Street in the Western Addition. The piece you're seeing behind me is called Eve, and the question is, what figure do you see in that piece? It's a composite photograph. Most of my work is about nature and our relationship to it and our position in it. And I have to say that COVID-19 has sort of sent me along 3 different storylines. One, of course, teamed up with the turmoil of politics. I shot that in Stribing Arboretum here in Golden Gate Park, and that one has been picked by the De Young to be in its show opening this month. The second one has to do with how our knees have been knocked out from under us. And so I've been playing with the X-ray of a knee, definitely not something I ordinarily do. And then the third series is the Eve series, because we all are in a sort of our own Garden of Eden. And we construct our world with our friends, our local neighborhood, the people that we're in contact with every day, and then our virtual neighborhood. And of course, that's all changed now, and we're kind of been thrown out of our own Gardens of Eden by COVID-19, and we'll have to reconstruct it almost from tabula rasa. This you can see here in the middle is the broken knee X-ray. What's so interesting about Eve and what I love about abstract photography is that the viewer can make their own story. And I don't know if you see a figure in it, but 85% of the people that I've chatted with see a whale in it and not a woman. And now I see the whale. So sometimes it even leads to me changing the title of the piece. But that's been fascinating. And so I have 5 different Eves that look at different aspects of COVID-19 and then also our relationship to nature. Because I think that's what COVID-19 has taught us, in a way that climate change has been trying to teach us, is that nature is the being here, and it's our choice as to whether we are going to act like we belong here.
All right, thank you so much, Michael. We appreciate it. We'll move on to the next artist. Hi, Camille.
Hi, so Camille Estime. For many years, I was actually focused on performing arts, but my current art is much more about painting, particularly with acrylic and some mixed media. And I'm still really fascinated by dance, but particularly in quarantine, painting has actually been a really amazing way to explore movement. And before the pandemic, I tended to do more figurative work, but more recently I found myself really interested in exploring physical ideas through abstraction. And Erosion is a series of abstract paintings I've created while on shelter in place in San Francisco. And the painting you see is a part of that Erosion series. I think outside of the art world, people often think of inspiration as this really positive, exciting jolt of energy. But in this case, the inspiration is darker. It's kind of this deterioration that we see happening around us in the world as we all cope with the pandemic. And so this erosion is really that slow physical deterioration. And by creating this series of pieces that each take a different approach to interpreting that destruction and the feelings it evokes, it gives me a way to view the pandemic as more of a transformation and renewal rather than just kind of a place and time of ruin. And I believe that art and creation is an inherently optimistic act. And I hope that people who see and collect my art can find a sort of hopeful beauty in the texture and implications of movement, even when the work is unpacking a concept like destruction. And I just want to say thank you to the Artspan team for organizing this event and Open Studios in general. It's so nice to have this community at a time like this.
Thank you so much, Camille. All right, our next artist is Rebecca Fox. Hi, Rebecca.
Hi. I'm Rebecca Fox, and I'm in my studio at Azaleas Creek Studios in the Bayview. And I work with mainly steel, but have now incorporated bronze into my work as well. And mainly I focus on using circles in my work and kind of examining them in different ways and manipulating them. A large part of my work is about the process and hoping that the viewer will come closer to the work to sort of investigate what's going on, and trying to translate the material, which is typically steel, as a hard, heavy object into something that's more light and flowing. So the current series that I'm working on, that I've been exploring more in depth during shelter in place, is with etchings. So I'm doing metal etchings, and the one that you see on your screen is on steel. So I am using the circles that I use in all of my work and sort of manipulating them and using them in different ways and creating texture into the pieces. And the color that you see is patina, that I put onto the metal to sort of alter the material. Now, the piece that you can see behind me, hopefully on the wall, that's actually a flat piece that has a very minimal, a couple millimeter raised imagery on it. But when you look at it in different lighting and when you walk past it, it gives the illusion of movement, which is something that I create during the process by manipulating the metal with my tools and sanding and kind of just making the piece alter when you look at it. Here's a smaller piece that's similar to the one that, I'm not sure if you can see it, that's was one on the camera, and this one you can see if I run my fingers over it, you have some minimal texture highlighted. So please visit my open studios, which is the Gold event on Thursday, October 8th from 4 to 8 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rebecca. Our next artist speaking tonight is Taiko Fujimura. Hi, Taiko.
Hi, I'm Taiko Fujimura, originally from Japan. I want to call myself a mixed media artist. So recently I'm focusing on painting with acrylic and watercolor on canvas and paper. And the concepts I explore include unity and peacefulness. This piece is from the Leaves series. I painted it from my childhood memories of leaves that imagine to be dancing in the wind. I paint abstract background in which I try to achieve timeless qualities. During this pandemic, one thing I strongly felt was that public art has a significant role in society. Recently, I painted two public art pieces. One is painted sculpture for the Heart Around Heart project in Danville, California. And the other is a mural located at the corner of Sutter and Buchanan Streets in San Francisco. Actually, today I was also painting on another wall in San Francisco, and I encountered many people who stopped by and expressed their appreciation for those public art pieces. So I felt that power of art can ease people's emotional pain a little. So I want to be a part of the process to help others. So this pandemic may have helped me to define my reason to keep creating art. Thank you for ArtsFan for organizing this event.
Thank you so much, Taiko. Our next artist is Rick Bulan with Golden Gate Furniture Company. Hi, Rick.
Hi, how are you? So what you're looking at here is the side table. And what I do is I make limited edition artisan furniture and gifts from original handrail off the Golden Gate Bridge. And what you're looking at is the side table, which is a compact triangular table with a 24-inch diameter, 3/4-inch thick round glass top. My designs are crafted from original handrail placed on the Golden Gate Bridge during its construction in the 30s and then replaced in 93. So it's been on the Golden Gate Bridge for 56 years. The steel has a weathered patina and exposure to the wind and salt air, which is what I try to highlight in each piece. I myself was born and raised in San Francisco. I have lots of childhood memories of spending time with the family at the bridge. And so there's an emotional connection for me there, along with the city, the icon. When I saw a news story back in '94 about the handrail replacement, I wanted a piece for myself. So I thought it would make a great headboard. So I ended up purchasing handrail material from the contractor who did the replacement. I've been creating functional art pieces from it ever since. I think during this time of COVID and the shelter in place, people are looking to feather their nests, surround themselves with things that bring them joy, comfort, reassurance, and remind them of happier times, a small escape from the stress that surrounds them. like myself, many other customers have a strong connection to San Francisco and the Golden Gate Bridge. So my pieces give them that tangible connections to these memories and something that they can keep with them no matter where they are during these surreal times.
Thank you so much, Rick. That's lovely.
Sure thing. Thanks a lot.
Our next artist speaking with us this evening is Jane Grimm. Hello, Jane.
Hi there. I'm a ceramic sculptor, and I make freestanding sculptures and sculptures that hang on the wall like paintings. Due to the coronavirus, the community studio where I do most of my clay work was closed. I had 2 commissions to complete by April 1st, so I had to set up a studio in our house, actually in our garage. I bought a kiln in which to fire the work. I already had the slab roller and an extruder, so that I also needed to complete the work. Fortunately, the commissions were for sculptures that were composed of small tiles that I later glued to wood panels, so I did not need a large kiln. The piece that you see behind me, or you see on the screen, is Ode 10. It was part of a series that I began to make before the pandemic hit. I had to abandon these sculptures due to the studio closure, but was able to resume working on them after the studio was open to a few artists. The first thing I do in making the Ode series is to roll out a slab, which I cut to a specific size. At the same time, I roll out random lengths of coils with a rolling pin and set both the slabs and coils aside for a day while they set up. The next day, I draw an outline of where I want the coils to go and proceed attaching them to the slab. After the pieces have dried to a leather hard stage, I refine the sculptures by filing them, filing them down, and then washing them with a sponge. Since I do one firing of the work, I apply underblades on the final refined forms before I fire them. I find working on these pieces very relaxing. Working on them also lets me focus on what I'm making rather than the problems that we're all faced with today, politically, socially, and health related. I want people to experience a sense of calm when they look at my current work.
Thank you.
And thank you, everybody at Artspan, for the fantastic work you've been doing.
Thank you, Jane. Thank you so much. Next artist is Audrey Heller. Hello, Audrey.
Hello. Well, COVID has certainly been about limitations, and I had 2 sets of limitations when I was creating this work. One was COVID limits, and then I had a deadline. The deadline was probably the essential one. I was invited to participate in the Foursquared alumni show at Arc Gallery. So I needed 4 related pieces, and I was planning to do some work on my Linger series. The Linger series usually takes as its subject big open spaces and mountains and oceans, and I'm often traveling. I try to work from a place of calm and serenity, and suddenly, all of that was gone. I was anxious, I was stuck at home, and I did not have any urge to make art. I made masks, and I made emergency food, and I called friends. But I started walking in my neighborhood and in a very limited little radius, and started going into the Berkeley Rose Garden, partly because the design of the garden is really lovely. And I started to notice the transitions and the sort of slow progression that was happening as time went on in the garden. And also found that the garden was a gathering place, and it was a great place for the sort of casual interactions that we were really missing during COVID. So I started to have some of that feeling of expanse that I had had in big open spaces in this garden. I feel like it took a sort of surrendering to those limits and not fighting them. So I took the big Linger ideas and took them into tiny spaces using my macro lens, and I cropped them square to sort of reflect that feeling of limitation. And I wanted to see if I could convey some of that feeling of space and some of that gentleness in this time that we feel so buffeted and bruised.
Thank you so much, Audrey. Our next artist with us this evening is Jane Ivory. Hello, Jane.
Hi. This piece is one of the 10 images I took at the Sutro Bath ruins here in San Francisco a couple of months ago. My goal was to express how I felt about life during this oppressive pandemic. And I went early in the morning when the light conditions would really express this most effectively. I particularly like this image because while the sky is very menacing and the seawall is crumbling and there's litter all over the place left over from weeks and weeks ago by the tourists who have now disappeared, there's still evidence of life out there on the rocks, the birds. And there's a lone fisherman who is still fishing on the shore there. And it was interesting, both days I went, there he was. What I was trying to do is to get to a feeling of, or find something that symbolized to me that right now life is really horrible. It sucks. The structures are crumbling, not only on the shoreline, but all our structures seem to be crumbling. And yet there's hope. In fact, one of my images in this series was of a fragment of cement on the shore of the Sutro Baths with graffiti spelling out hope. And that actually lifted me up because the images out there, you know, were by purpose kind of depressing, unlike everybody else so far tonight. But if you'd like to see more of my photographs, some of which are much cheerier than these, you can go to www.janeivory.com.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Great to hear from you. Our next artist with us is Uma Rainey Ely. Hello, Uma.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Philip and Artspan, for this opportunity. So today I'd like to first start by introducing you to my most current work. This origami installation is titled Fortune Tellers Tell Me the Future. Here you see a side view and two details of front view. This installation is comprised of a collection of folded and painted fortune tellers that stir up childhood memories of excitement. Each individual fortune teller is made from a base of 8 by 8-inch painting. Fortune tellers have enchanted the human psyche for centuries. Used as a contemporary playful tool in my installation work, these colorful fortune tellers provide me with a sense of hope and direction. In today's challenging and confusing times, it is my hope that these thoughtfully constructed new origami installation series contributes to a sense of inquisitiveness, positivity, and hopeful energy. During shutdown, I know from my art community, we all reacted differently to this pandemic. Some not being able to work at all, some diving into their most prolific times in the studio. For me, lockdown was also a gift of time, a chance to focus, and an opportunity to dive into art making with great freedom. I started pushing forward with ideas that were in my mind, questions about how to build bridge between my fiber work and my painting practice, my budding fortune teller series, and my photography. In the past few months, I also experimented extensively with combining repurposed silk fibers with my acrylic paintings. I'm very excited about this new direction for my brocades painting series. This painting does have fiber under layers, which is kind of hard to tell right now. I really look forward to sharing all my new work with you. Please come visit me, Virtual Open Studios Teal event, October 3rd, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you, Uma. Lovely.
First of all, I have to say, what an absolutely extraordinary group of artists that we just saw, and all the various different mediums. I mean, this is what makes San Francisco and the San Francisco Bay Area renowned all over the world for such an extraordinary group of artists. I mean, really, I'm getting goosebumps thinking about the pieces. You know, so many of the artists, actually, as you can see, there was a real thread between so many different things that people were saying. For example, Camille Estime, she opened this up describing how that in the the pandemic, that there's still the thing was deterioration in her book, her painting Erosion. It was about transformation and renewal, and that art is a creative and optimistic act. And we heard this over and over again in a number of different ways. I thought that was fascinating too, hearing from Audrey Heller describing about using her practice and then going into the Berkeley Rose Garden. That was all of a sudden there was inspiration, and this feeling of space and gentleness. Jane Ivory, so eloquent too, and a magnificent photographer, describing how this evidence of life, the people have gone, and then even into that written into in terms of hope. I thought was just fantastic. Taiko Fujimura describing the murals and the sense of public art. I know a number of artists have been doing public art, and she described too about people how this was important to people to see, and that kind of connection. And at Golden Gate Furniture, Rick described people surrounding themselves, the things that give them comfort. And then Jane Grimm, perfect example of someone who couldn't work in the studio, and yet she describes it too, about that these pieces actually became an incredible sense for her to forget about certain problems, and that she wanted to create this sense of calm for others, which I believe they do. I could go on, but I'm going to just leave it there. It's an extraordinary group of people.
I agree wholeheartedly. I'm enjoying it. With that said, let's continue on. Our next artist is Bianca Levan.
Hi, Dan. Hi, Philip, everyone. My name is Bianca Levan, and I'm a paper cut artist. I'm inspired by woodcuts and other forms of printmaking, and typically use a sheet of black paper and cut images out with a scalpel blade. So in the image you see on the screen, the black is a sheet of paper, and the color is the cutouts you see through it. And this was a piece inspired by the work of Don Blanding. For me, the process of paper cutting is a way of processing emotions, and I delve deep into ideas I'm exploring, and when I'm working is when I'm sort of the most calm and still. To be completely honest, I haven't created that much work since March. I think it's just been, hard for me to focus, but it got to the point earlier this month where I just had to understand what I was feeling, which was claustrophobic in my studio apartment, overwhelmed by the smoke, deep sadness for plants and wildlife. And in the midst of all that, I still hold hope in some ways, and a clearing or respite of safety kind of in that. So out of that feelings, this piece was created. Paper cutting for me is a process of extracting paper, and in that process, I also distract, you can see one here, and I distill kind of what's going on for me. With each artwork, I begin by crafting a scene that conveys an internal world with, imagined landscapes like trees and oceans and things like that, alongside manufactured ones like buildings or boats. And the paper cuts I make are imbued with imperfections that arise from a precise tool in very imperfect, imprecise human hands. And I kind of revel in these uniqueness and variations in each piece, that I hope to, personalize the work, and hope that you as a viewer can find your own sort of imperfect, involving, growing story within it. And I think that's all I have to say. Thanks everyone at ArtSpan. This has been great, and make sure to check out the other artists.
Wonderful. Thank you, Bianca. Perfect timing. Our next artist is Mike McNamara. Hello, Mike.
Hello, Diane. Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate ArtSpan through the years. I've had a great time with Open Studios, and the electronic, visual, virtual aspect is a bit daunting to me, but here we go. I do make quilts. I'm a quilt maker with my guild, and there's about 300 women in my guild, so we're essentially a bunch of little old ladies making quilts. And what's important about that is they've always had the community at mind and social matters at mind. And so you can even see right here, this quilt right here on my right is a quilt called Firestorm, dedicated to the Oakland Hills firestorm of 1991, made by a great quilt maker who has since passed. We also have always made quilts that address the issues around us. So COVID has already seen a number of quilts that have been made by people. And with all of the firestorms that we've had in Santa Cruz County, which is where my guild is, it's pretty amazing, along with the nature of our political world. And it's not as elegant, perhaps, as Winston Churchill, who would say, I have a riddle that's wrapped in a mystery, wrapped in an enigma. We have a firestorm wrapped in a COVID storm, wrapped in an expletive storm. And so you have quilts like that people aren't afraid to make. And so I work along with people like that. I also help people make quilts who don't like to sew. And I actually just love to sit with people and find fabrics, whether it's colors or themes or whatever, and make quilts with them. And I really, once again, want to just say thank you to ArtSpan. It's been so much fun, this great ride every year. We look forward to it, and I look forward to next year. Thank you very much, Diane.
Thank you so much, Mike. Okay, our next artist is Elise Odom. Elise, hello.
Hi, Diane. Hi, everybody. Thank you. Wanted to thank all of you at ArtSpan. You're so fantastic for all your hard work and time. And for Philip Bewley for being our host. Really appreciate it. Through this time here, this difficult time, I've called it my pandemic challenge because I've been working from home. I do have a wonderful studio, but too much smoke lately. But this is my first attempt to assemblage. This is the third one I've done. I make it from found objects and whatever is available. This one is tea bags that I've dried, painted with acrylic. You'll see sink stoppers in there, string, ribbon, probiotic sleeves, of course, with the pills popped out, and scraps of candy wrapper. Guess who ate the candy? And painted paper. And some of the tea bags, you'll see the strings are still on the tea bags with their sayings, usually yoga tea. I'm a big tea drinker, you can tell. That was about 20 inches by 26 size, just to tell you that. It's also covered with a plexi glass shadow box. So I have a wonderful studio in the Mission, and I hope to have visitors soon, but please come visit me Saturday at the Teal Open Studio. I've done a variety of painting series, and the assemblage is something extremely new for me. I've really been doing watercolor and acrylic for years. This year of 2020, my total sales proceeds will be donated to the San Francisco Marin Food Bank. As you all know, this is a very tough year for many, and food is needed now more than ever. So I'm happy and grateful to be able to do that this year. It's my way of volunteering because I'm not doing that right now. You'll also see a couple of my paintings here because I'm home.
Thank you, Elise. We'll hear from Pamela Pitt. Hello, Pamela.
Hi, how are you? I also appreciate ArtSpan and Open Studios, which I've done many years. I'm a photographer and a collage artist. And at the beginning of this year, when we started off the year with impeachment, I thought I just can't deal with all that. I need something to think about. And I started right off the bat doing collage. And I wanted to make sure it was non-political collage because I can do a lot of political things. So I kept going with that, and it was healing. And then we had the pandemic, and I was ready to really jump in with even more. So I started doing what I call the Quarantine Dream series, and what's on the screen is part of that. I took all my photographs, a lot of photographs I've had in the past, which I travel with my camera, even in my neighborhood, and started manipulating the photographs that I'd already taken. It helped me cheer up, and I posted it to help cheer up my friends. Now, the one that was just shown was one as we were getting a little bit too far into it. And so I have titled it Looking for the Exit. But in the meantime, I still continue doing the collage. And between the collage and the photography, even though we were in a pandemic and I was going to be home all day with my dog, I woke up every morning looking forward to the day. Say, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have a good day, because I had these two different projects going. Sometimes it lost some of its cheerfulness, but it's really helping. And if you go onto my website, you can see both series, and particularly the Quarantine Dreams. If you click on that and just keep clicking, it's like watching a little movie of dreams.
Thank you. That's wonderful. Thank you, Pamela. Our next artist this evening is Marco Razzo. Hello, Marco.
Hi, how are you?
Wonderful.
Great. I'd like to thank you for this opportunity to show my work in the largest audience. The painting that you see there is called The Bookseller. It's an homage for writers, philosophers, painters, and poets. So every one of the books that you see there is related with a writer or a poet. We have Garcia Marquez, we have Borges, we have Modigliani, we have Picasso. It's a kind of homage that I like to bring in this painting to all these artists that helped me in my development of my art, on my creativity. You know? I like to read, so I thought in this painting was an opportunity for me to homage those artists. The technique is related to fresco, but this is more a mixed media technique created by soft pastels and plaster. So you can see in the back, the main character is a kind of alter ego that I create, and then is the seller, the seller of these books. Actually, I have my studio in a bookstore here in the Mission, Alley Cat bookstore. I'm selling books too. It was really nice as a subject matter to do that.
Perfect.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Marco. Our next artist this evening is Kristen Sard. Hello, Kristen.
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Artspan. Thank you, Diane, Joanne, Philip, all the workers, Inas. Thank you, all the artists that are here tonight, and everyone continuing to make their work during this incredibly difficult time. I'm a photographer, and the image that you see here is sand that I collected at Ocean Beach that I dripped and made a little sand castle in my studio, and I photographed that with my medium format camera and created a landscape. And Shelter in Place really offered this amazing time where I didn't have to go to work, and I could just go to my studio and just focus. It was like the best art residency ever. I also shared the studio with Mike McNamara and Zoe Annie, and they've just been wonderful to have around. So it was a great time to create work, but also as Shelter in Place progressed, then it became, family problems started to come up, and political angst and everything. And so but it's still, working on this piece still allowed me to meditate with it just the way what I intended to use it for, which was a background for my figurative work. And when I created it, then I realized that it actually stands on its own. And so here it is, 9 by 10 feet behind me. And then I also have a small piece that's at the Analog Gallery in the Mission. And I'm just truly grateful that I had this time to make this art and to take the time to be able to stare at every grain of sand as I made this piece.
Thank you, Kristen. It's lovely. Next artists are the photographer team, Greta and Manu Schnetzler. Hi, guys.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for organizing this. It's been just really great to hear people talking about their work and during this time that we've all been sharing from afar. So we've been working on a collection of photos during this time that we've called Safer at Home. And they're works that are made within 15 minutes of our house in the city. The limitations on travel early on, especially, we weren't going very far other than walking the dog, and eventually decided to keep getting out to go paddle on the bay. Manu especially has been going out early morning. It almost felt like an illicit pleasure and freedom during the early days when we were still locked down. And the images have just been amazing. We're night photographers mainly, and we love to photograph in those transitional times too, between night and day. And so we've been working a lot with these pieces on the bay and other pieces. We just being on the bay is such a moment of quiet reflection when it's early in the morning and there's just not much going on. It can be very calm, it can be choppy, it's different every day, and the weather and the light is different every day. So it's provided a real opportunity for meditation during some difficult times when we were sheltering in place. We love to take images of lit art or use light painting to create lit art. We're really lucky in San Francisco to have a lot of art that is illuminated, created by many great artists working with light in the city and creating really iconic works. And we'll be showing our works in a pop-up on October 11th at the American Industrial Center in the Dogpatch neighborhood.
Wonderful. Okay, our next artist this evening is MG Stout. Hello.
Hi, everybody. I am MG Stout, also known as Mary Gallagher Stout. You can find me at 1890 Bryant Street Studios, and I'm a member of the stable number 317. My current work is about tapping into the idealism and curiosity of childhood and pairing that with the wit and experiences of a fully developed adult. Life has been really difficult lately, but I believe it's always been really difficult. And the thing about the good old days is not recognizing those moments when they're happening in real time. And that's why my newest series it's been this conscious decision to be very optimistic. For me, art's a vehicle for connecting with folks and sharing our collective human experiences. We've all had highs and lows. We all have families and favorite friends. And my new series is this reminder of just how wonderful those ordinary moments can be. So the piece that you're looking at here is called My Philadelphia, because that's where I grew up. So I'm doing a lot of mining from when I was a kid and starting at the bottom. I lost my dad during the pandemic, and it's been, I think that's why I'm starting at the beginning, Philadelphia, where we all kind of started from, and I'm going and just doing lots of life-affirming, fun memories, nostalgia kind of stuff. My brand is all about self-expression and service to others, so I'm busy producing some virtual art events too for folks and I to connect and collaborate. There'll be part demo, part class, part interactive. And so I have my first interactive thing, we're calling it live, like Tea Time with Mary, and that's this Friday at 2 o'clock, and it'll be on Instagram Live. And that's MGEE, like with 2 E's, because I goofed up the thing in the very beginning. And then I'm doing the gold event for ArtSpan on October 8th from 4 to 8, and that'll be showing all my new artworks and fun stuff that I'm doing. I also do pet portraits for Uncommon Goods catalog, and I've noticed a big spike in that during the pandemic. Apparently people really want paintings of their animals and their cuddly guys near them. So it's just really, again, it's just such a great thing to be able to be a part of that collaboration of things that people love and things that I love, and bringing color and expression to it. And I just value my time here and looking forward to painting San Francisco. So thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Mary. Our next artist is Cynthia Tom. Hello, Cynthia.
Hello, everyone. And hi, Mary. I'm across the hall from you at 1890 Bryant in 302. Funny, we have to meet each other this way. So I have been with ArtSpan a very long time, Open Studios, And this was going to be the first year, this is the first year in my 30-year career that I'm not opening my doors. So thank you guys for being really creative and scrambling and doing this. So I am a native of San Francisco. I'm third generation Chinese who grew up in the Mission. And the reason I say that is because I think my work is very influenced by the way I grew up in a very multicultural environment. I am known for painting, but I am largely a found object artist. So this pandemic time has almost been, it's been very uncomfortable and very sad and very angering, but it's also been very magical for me. I actually run a healing program for women of color called A Place of Her Own, usually out of my studio at 1890. But we had, because of the pandemic, we had to go online and teach artists how to create work, looking at their family patterns and things that are causing them chronic heartache, but we're using found objects. So I had to teach them how to look around their house for things, and it kept me on my toes, and it kept me in a very positive place. I don't watch any news unless it's something that's going to change my behavior. I've just taken a complete Western news holiday. I haven't been painting as much. This painting's really important to me. It's called Launching the Gifts. And it's about being firm and understanding what all your gifts are, what you bring to the planet, so that you can leave parts of yourself behind with people and communities that need it. And my art has always been around using intuition to think of what the world needs to hear, see, talk about. And what's been interesting with the pandemic, it's given me permission to sit at home and to digitally collage like the hundreds of paintings that I have, and not only for my own healing, but to maybe help others think about their lives differently. And I think Pam Pitt, you nailed some things on the head for me, so thank you for what you're saying. I went way over, didn't I? So October 4th, our 1890 Bryant, I'm gonna do my first like long version arts talk. So again, CynthiaTom.com. Sorry, guys.
That's all right. Thank you, Cynthia. We appreciate it. Our next artist this evening is Victoria Vidal.
Hi, Diane. Thank you. In March, at the beginning of the pandemic shutdown, I was in Finland at an artist residency. Unfortunately, my time there was cut short, and I had to come home as quickly as possible after only 11 days. Once I was back in San Francisco, since I couldn't go to my studio, I set up a home studio. I wanted to finish up the paintings I started in Finland. I was feeling down, and painting winter landscape series didn't feel quite right. I really didn't have enough time in Finland to immerse myself in the winter light. I started thinking about how I could transport myself and create work that would be calming and uplifting. That's when I came up with this idea for the series, I Wish I Was There. This painting, Afternoon Memory, Russian River, was the first painting I made in this ongoing series. The inspiration comes from the time I was at the Chalk Hill Artist Residency in Healdsburg. Looking at water and the color blue have always had a calming effect on me. On the one hand, this series has allowed me the space to look back at memories of good times and favorite places. And on the other, it's let me celebrate the California landscapes that I've come to love over the years, while giving me a sense of calm. Ultimately, my work is about chronicling timeless moments in nature where we feel a sense of serenity and a connection to the land.
Lovely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'd say your work definitely conveys those things without question. Our next artist joining us this evening is Kai Weber. Hi, Kai.
Hi, Diane. Thank you guys for doing all of that. It's amazing. Thank you, Artspan team. I have been part of the Artspan community for about 25 years. I love what you guys did to put us all online. That's amazing. I enjoy being here. So thank you so much. I'm a mixed media artist, and I'm focused on paper cutting mostly and collages. But I also cut metal shield, foil and natural leaves and bark. I like to cut stuff. I'm coming from drawing, and I'm getting into cutting my lines. And so that's what I'm doing for a long time. My studio is on Jones and Golden Gate, just one block off Market Street. And I'm living and working here since 25 years in one building, and it's fantastic. I really love the location. And I love the connection to all my neighbors and the community. The piece you see is a typical paper cutout from me, and this is a reference to our San Francisco with the San Francisco skyline in the back. And it's just interesting how he relates to nature by talking to birds. And so I was really intrigued by that. I think that's my 4th or 5th version of it. So my visitors and clients usually really talk about my patience, but my work is not so much about that. It's a very meditative process, how I engage with the paper or the materials. And I really like the focus and the breathing and the step-by-step to connect a network of positive and negative spaces. And that's really intricate process. And I like the whimsical aspect of it as well. So yeah, most of my work is inspired by mythology or by environmental issues. And lately, it's really that I had this feeling since the pandemic hit. It's much more loose, and I play around more, and I feel so much restriction outside, and inside I kind of opened up to more colorful collages. You see here one of my more playful pieces. It makes me lift up a little bit and feel cheerful. And so that's what I like to do lately more, but it's all about paper and cutting. Thanks, Diane.
Thank you so much. Our next artist joining us is Sandy Young. Hi, Sandy.
Hi, thank you so much for doing this. This is awesome, meeting so many artists through their work. So my name is Sandy Young, and I'm showing work in mixed media with kiln-formed glass. So I feel that during COVID and the shutdowns, we're often left with more awareness of our internal experience. So just like the girl within the pages, that's called the girl within the pages, that's shown here, I feel that we're experiencing ourselves within the story or the chapter of our life. Things are a little bit more internal. So in my work, I seek to express moments of time that not only represent the physical, but that include the inner experience as well. In this piece, as with some others in this particular series, I use the book form to represent life passage or story. I work with paint, image transfer, my own photography, or antique black and white photos or tintypes. In this case, I colorized and altered an antique photo and incorporated turn-of-the-century handwriting and image fragments. I formed the wire to mimic a spiral notebook and embed it in the glass in the kiln so that I could attach the glass to the wood panel. It's not so obvious in this photo, but the glass is actually curved like a page so that the image looks different from different angles. This piece is 18-inch square with the bowing outward glass that bows out about 3 inches. So it's very dimensional. And the idea is that looking through the glass is like looking through, looking inward, looking within toward aspects of our inner experience. So our thoughts, our feelings, memories, emotions, all that. My work is about weaving imagery into multiple planes in order to create a feeling of dimensionality. So some parts of the image are on the glass, others are on the back panel. And then this aspect of my work acts as like a metaphor for the multiple dimensions of life experience. I use markings and handwriting to represent tracings of an internal experience. And then I distress fragments of markings and imagery to indicate the passage of time. So as with memory, one moment is erased while the next is painted, leaving only impressions of the first. I'm often inspired by turn-of-the-century photographs, handwritten documents, and time-worn objects. I see these as evidence of someone or something gone before, and I use them to convey a timelessness. Ultimately, I seek to create harmony and express a connection among all. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. Okay, we're going to, we have a solution so that we can hear from Beth Puther. Joanne Madonna, our executive director, is going to speak on Beth's behalf.
We are beating technology. We don't know why Beth can't actually broadcast her audio, but I have her on the phone, and so I'm going to translate for her because technology is not going to keep Beth silent about her work. So, Beth, what do you want to say? Say it in a few sentences, and I'll say it, and then give me a moment, and then say some more, and I'll repeat it for you. So Beth's work is about rectangles, and it's cut shapes, and it's collage work. But what she really wants to talk about is her late husband's art. So wait, this is her living room, and these are the cut shape paintings of her husband's work, and they're wonderful and whimsical. And we have Beethoven here, the camel zebra, camel zeb, otherworldly, the camel zeb, and the green head at the end is the Irish writer. Is it James Joyce is my guess? James Joyce, okay. So this is her husband's work, and they're whimsical and fun, and they're cut-shaped paintings. He had a show at the Museum of Modern Art when he was young, and he's working at rectangles at that point. Oh, and he's going to have another show there and be rediscovered, even though it's posthumous after his passing. Well, we're so happy to have you, and this is why she's showing his work, because it's fun and whimsical and important, and we are so happy to have you a part of this, Beth, and to make sure that you and his work are still with us. Great. And you can look up videos about both Beth and her husband on YouTube. Tell us the name is Beth Puther, and your husband's name, so we can make sure to get it correct, is Leonard Breger. So you can find videos about them and their work on YouTube. Please visit them when you can at their YouTube and come to and see more from them, as well as a Teal event. We're going to take it back to Philip and see if, Philip, you asked some artists to talk about, their work during this time of COVID. So what do you think? What do you think about what's come together and what you've heard?
Well, I just think that what we've seen is incredibly inspiring. Here's the thing is that we've looked at this situation with the shutdown and a really terrible time of coronavirus and pandemic, and yet these incredible new things have come out. For example, the salon that we're having tonight, don't you want this to become a tradition? Yeah. I think that the fact is I feel so incredibly inspired. Now, we of course would love to be able to go to, to the open studios like I did going way back as a San Francisco tradition. But there's something incredible too to get this kind of one-on-one sort of engagement, but particularly with this whole group. I'm just kind of wondering too from the artist is after tonight, hearing from other people. I mean, I feel sort of enriched by it. I'm just kind of wondering if something actually comes out of this evening from hearing from other people. So this is the kind of artistic ferment that I'm talking about. And this is why ArtSpan and what you're doing is so important. I would recommend everybody, to wrap it up here, is to become a member of ArtSpan. If you think of the roller coaster of San Francisco, if you think of the time when I first went to Open Studios, it was AIDS. Then we had this crazy, ups and downs, and then things were so crazy. Artists were leaving San Francisco, and now then the shelter in place. And ArtSpan has been there the entire arc. So your membership, whether or not you're an artist or a art lover or just someone who's wants to actually support your community, is so important. And so thank you all for tonight.
Hey. Oh, thank you all so much,
everyone.
Hey, thank you.
Good night.
Guys,
Awesome.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Thanks, Philip. That was wonderful.
Thank you, guys. You were wonderful.
Yeah, thanks, Philip. Thanks, Philip.
It's phenomenal.